Hello friends, my name is Kumar Rajneesh and we have started this series CCNA scenario based training, and this is my fifth lecture. It's related about static routing. In the earlier lectures we have done basics of RIP, how to design a network, how to configure our routers and other devices. Then we did EIGRP, basics of EIGRP and basic of OSPF, and we also discussed about the IP addresses. And this now we are going to do static routing. So let's start, guys. And the topics which I'm going to cover, it's very basic topics like what is static and dynamic routing, and then we will be discussing about advantages and disadvantages of static routing, that what's the plus point if we do the static routing, and if we do a dynamic, what will be the advantages over static. So this we will be discussing. Then default routing is also there. So how we can implement default routing, that is not more commonly used actually, but in some of the scenario, especially the stub network, we can use default routing. So what is stub network and how we can use default routing, we will be doing that part also. Okay, so static routing, what it is, like you have to configure the routes of your networks in a static way. Static routing is the manual configuration, you can say. There is no routing protocols going to be used like RAID, PIGRP or OSPF. We are not going to use any kind of dynamic routing protocols. We will be doing it manually. All the configuration of our network routes, how many branches we have, what type of routes we have in the another branch, we have to configure it manually. Especially your network administrator will be doing that part. So that is your static routing. And if we talk about dynamic routing, we were using certain protocols. With the help of routing protocols, we can use dynamic routing, and dynamic routing continuously updates its routing table. So from 30 seconds to 60 seconds and more, it's updating the routes. Like in our scenario, if you remember, with the two routers, Mumbai was our headquarter and Delhi was our branch office. So they are communicating after 30 to 60 seconds. It depends upon what type of protocols we are using. They are sending the updates that this link is live, and these are the networks in my another branch, and they are exchanging that information. So dynamic routing continuously updates its routing table. How they updates it? With the help of routing protocols, and they add best routes and maybe the backup routes. In this scenario there was no backup routes. In some of the scenarios, if we are using ring topologies or we have multiple links, so they add all those links, that if this link will be down, they will be moving to the another one. These all things have been done with the help of dynamic routing protocol. Okay, so advantages and disadvantages. Advantages of static routing we are talking about here now. So the very first advantage is it's not going to use more of your bandwidth while it's updating. It consumes no bandwidth with the updates because you have configured it, and that's all. The router understand what another network is the in the another branch. So they are not going to exchange any information like RIP, EIGRP or OSPF. They use bandwidth, and they will be updating all the routes at the back end. So it's not doing that part. It's not consuming your bandwidth. Second thing, it use less processing resources. So if you have some earlier routers, and you can use those also. So it's not going to use more processing power of your routers and memory for related with updating the routing table information. These are the advantages, but it also comes with certain disadvantages. Let me show you. Static routes require manual effort. So if you have a bigger network, basically static routing is used in very smaller networks. If you have medium to large network, it's very difficult to do the static routing. So if you have five, more than five, or maybe let's say 10 routers, so and also it depend upon topologies, what type of topologies you are using. So it will be very difficult to manage all those things. Administrator has to put all the routes of your network manually. The more route exists, the more manual effort is required. That is clear. Okay. If the path used by static route stops working, it will require manual effort to configure a different path. Okay, here they are talking about the multiple way to reach at a specific network. So whatever you have configured, if that route is down, there is no way you can reach to the network with the other backup routes, even if you have. But in your dynamic routing, if there are multiple routes to reach a specific destination and one route goes down, the routers will change the routes automatic way. So these are the disadvantages which comes with the static routing. So we will be okay. Default routing also, like I told you, it's used in your stub networks. Default routing is used only in stub networks. Stub networks means there where the networks have only one output interface and everything going through these network has to cross the single exit point. So if there are multiple routes on the network, then it will be a problem. There should be only one exit point. So these network has to cross single exit point. So those are the default routing. Okay, so let's come to the point. Let's try to implement this static routing and default routing also. If you are watching my this series, you know about this scenario. This is a very base lab scenario I have created, just two routers, and within few more lectures we will be discussing on this. Then we are moving to the base lab 2, which I showcase you in my last lecture. So we can prepare that, or I will share the links. You can download these and you can do the configuration, or if you want to do only the objectives, you are good in those things, yeah, so you can directly jump to the objectives also. So this is the same scenario which we are going to discuss. Okay, let me show you the objectives. I try to keep it as simple, these objectives. So we discussed in this lecture about static routing and default routing. So I'm showing you with objective 1, implement static routing on both the routers. On second objectives, implement dynamic, no, sorry, it's wrong, not dynamic routing. Here it should be, just a minute, here it should be default routing. Okay, I will check it if I can make changes in this. Implement default routing on router 1 and 2. Then we have to check the routing table information with the help of a show IP route command. Okay, we will see that. And you know, with static routing, the administrative distance is 1. So if you have implemented routing protocols also, so there is no way that your routers are going to use dynamic routes, dynamic routing. So they will be giving the preference to the static. So we can change that also. So in this one of the objective I have added that how we can change that so that the preference should be given to the this OSPF network or some other networks. Okay, so let's do it, guys. And here we have this scenario. You can see, let me check the routing table information here on router 1. So you can see here we have OSPF. In the last lab which we did, we removed DIGRP and we implemented OSPF. So let me see the running configuration. So here we have EIGRP, OSPF and RIP. But then why it's giving the preference? Let me see. Is it going through EIGRP or OSPF? Oh, it's going through OSPF. But according to the less administrative distance, it should give the preference to the EIGRP. So did we change the AD in that? No, I don't think so. So we have this routing. Let me check it on the another routers. I think, okay. I think we removed EIGRP. No router EIGRP 99 we did. I remember now. Yeah. So there is no EIGRP. This is the reason it's going through OSPF. Anyhow, so let it be. I'm not going to do anything for this. So I have to show you how we can implement static routing now. So routing is done in global configuration mode. Configure terminal. I'm there, and here I'm going to use IP route. That I want to use IP route. Okay, let me show you one another thing. Let me minimize it and show you here on this router. You remember when we were doing dynamic routing on this router, what we were explaining? We were adding network 20000 and 192.168.0.0. So in dynamic routing protocol, we use our connected links, that these are the two networks which I have. But in the case of static, I have to explain the network of my another branch. So on router 1, I will explain about the network which is in my another branch. So this is the point here. So let's do this, and okay, how I show you guys. Okay, so in this IP route, I have to explain the route of another router, right? Network on the another router, IP route. So in my another branch, it's 172.16.0.0. This is my network ID. I'm on router 1. Fine. Okay. So IP route is this one. Then I have to explain subnet mask. That this is the subnet mask which we are using. Basically, we are explaining in a static way that what I have in my another branch. So in headquarter Mumbai, I'm explaining that in my Delhi branch, I'm using this network ID 172.168.0.0, and my subnet mask is 255.255.0.0. And how I can reach there? With my this gateway 20.0.0.2. This is one, on another router it's 2. So I press enter. So I have configured static routing in this router. Okay, let me go there. Configure terminal, IP route. So on this router 2, I'm going to explain this network. IP route 192.168.0.0. Subnet mask, I'm using this one, the default subnet mask for C class, and my gateway will be 20.0.0.1. We have to explain three things in static routing. What is the network ID on the another branch? What type of subnet mask they are using? And how I can reach there. So this is 20.0.0.1 in this case. I press enter, and guys, let's check show IP route. So here you can see it's coming with S. So this S is your static route. So we have done static routing. So if I change the administrative distance of this, and how we have to change, let me do that, and then it should move to the OSPF, right? Okay, so OSPF is using administrative distance 110. So I have to, this is 1, so I have to increase this so that OSPF can take over to the static routing. Okay, so let's say configure terminal, and I have used this. Let me remove this first. I say no IP route, I don't want this. Then I say okay, I want this, but let me show you here distance metric for this route, that what administrative distance you want to add. So here I'm going to add which is more than 110. So in our scenario objectives they have given that use 150. Okay, and in the another router I'm going to do the same. I said no, I don't want this route, and then I said yes, I want it, but with administrative distance 150. And let's check the routing table again. Earlier it was with OSPF. No, sorry, it was with static. So show IP route. Now it's going to OSPF, but I show you on another router, I think so. So here static, yeah, you see here it was static. So let me show you here, guys. Show IP route. So here it's coming with OSPF, because in the static routing earlier it was static. So we have increased the administrative distance of static to 150. By default it was 1, so there was no any chance that router will be using these dynamic routing protocols like RIP or OSPF we have configured. So now it's coming with O. Okay, so that was your static routing, and I think I missed one objective, right? Okay, so implement default routing. Again I'm going to say you here it was default routing we have to use. Fine, so let's do that part also. Now I'm going to do this default routing. In this scenario it's okay, default routing is okay, but if there will be another network on my main headquarter and branch offices, they are further connected with the different routers, then it will be a problem. So that will not be a stub network. Here only one exit point is there. Okay, so configure terminal. I'm going to remove this no IP route. Let me remove it on the another router also. And let's come here for the default routing. Here for default routing I'm again writing IP route. Now see here 0.0.0.0. I says this is my network ID. You remember when we were doing IP addresses for A class we started with 0.0.0.0 to 127.0.0.0. The range was written 0 to 127 or 1 to 126. Then I explained you that this 0.0.0.0 we cannot use, we can use it in default routing. So that point is coming here. Okay, and 127.0.0.0 was reserved for your loopback address. I hope you guys remember if you are watching my earlier lectures, and it's the continuity kind of things. But you can go through individual lectures also. So if you have missed that, I'm just explaining here. So IP route, I'm putting that this is my network ID, or you can say in your another branch, like you are on router 1 headquarter and branch office, you don't know what IP addresses they are using, so you are writing 0.0.0.0, and this is my subnet mask 0.0.0.0. I don't know what is the subnet mask there, but I do know one thing, that I can reach there through this gateway 20.0.0.2. And let's give the administrative distance also 150. No, if we will give, it will give the preference to PIGRP. Let it be default like this. Okay, so I'm explaining that my route is this one. I can reach 20002 on the another router. I'm going to use the same, but only the gateway will change. Okay, so IP route 0.0.0.0. I don't know the IP addresses of my another branch, and this is my network. Whatever is the network, it should reach 0.0.0.0, and my gateway is this 20001. If I reach there, I can reach to the another network. So let's see, show IP route. Yes, you can see here S star. So S is your static and star is your candidate default. So we have implemented default routing here. So if you will try to ping, it should reach there. Okay, so let's try from here to the main server. I'm going to ping this server here. So I say ping 192.168.0.200. Yeah, so I can reach, and in my routing table we are doing through the static star, means we are doing the default routing there. Okay, so we have done these all four objectives. We change the ID to 150, we check the routing table information, we implement, again I did the mistake here, instead of dynamic, guys, read it default routing. So we did that, implement static routing, we have done that. So this was all in this lecture, that how we can configure static routing and default routing, guys. If you are liking my videos, these lectures, please subscribe to my channel and give the likes, and you are free to spread this link to your friends also, whoever needs to do or to want to learn CCNA. So it's a good platform. We are trying to provide you the easy way and a scenario based training so you can understand easily. Thank you so much, guys. See you in the next lectures. Have a nice day.